Very good afternoon to all. Today we are here to attend the online CME on Wellbeing Essential for Youth under the aegis of Indian Association of Social Psychiatry. So we are very much thankful to Indian Association of Social Psychiatry for providing us opportunity and support. And we will start the program with auspicious Saraswati Vandana.
शेयर साउंड कर दीजिए, शेयर साउंड नीचे शेयर साउंड वाला है ना बटन।
या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा। शुक्लां ब्रह्मविचारसारपरमाम् आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनीं वीणापुस्तकधारिणीम् अभयदां जाड्यान्धकारापहाम्। हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधतीं पद्मासने संस्थितां वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्।
Good afternoon. Sincere greetings from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Jodhpur. We are thankful to our director, Sir, Professor Dr. Sanjeev Mishra, who has motivated us and guided all through for this program. And special thanks and gratitude to Dr. Pratap Charan, Sir, President, Indian Association of Social Psychiatry, who is a constant support and guiding force for us since beginning and today as well. And we are thankful to our Dean, Sir, Dean Academic, Sir, Dr. Kuldeep, Sir, is with us. And Executive Council of Indian Association of Social Psychiatry is also with us. Just one small hiccup today, because today in Rajasthan, most of places, mobile internet is down because of some examinations. So many of our colleagues are going to join us through fiber and through broadband and other links. And with that, I request Dr. Swati to carry forward for the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all, respected dignitaries, esteemed speakers, and all the participants. Myself, Dr. Swati, along with our whole team, would like to welcome you all for today's CME on Wellbeing Essentials for Youth. First of all, I would like to have an opportunity to thank our Director, AIIMS Jodhpur, Professor Sanjeev Mishra, Sir, Dean Academics, Professor Kuldeep Singh, Sir, under whom guidance this CME has been organized. I would also like to extend our sincere gratitude to Indian Association for Social Psychiatry President, Professor Pratap Charan, Sir, and the Executive Council members for giving this opportunity. I would like to thank all the participants from where we have gotten an anonymous response where 250 plus participants have registered with us. So with all this, I request all the participants to put their queries in the chat box during the presentation, which we'll be taking after the presentation if time permits. Otherwise, we'll be taking all the queries in the end. So without a further ado, I would like to first invite President Indian Association for Social Psychiatry, Professor Pratap Sharan sir, to address all of us. Pratap Sharan sir.
Thank you, Professor. Professor Sanjeev Mishra, Director and CEO AIMS, Professor Kuldeep Singh, Dean AIMS, Professor Varghese Punur, Secretary General ISP, Dr. Mamta Sood, the previous Secretary General, Office Bearers, Executive Members of ISP, Professor Naresh Nebinani, HOD Secretary AIMS, Dr. Navratan Sudhar, AIMS, faculty and staff of AIMS Jodhpur, residents, students, others, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. I would like to thank Professor Naresh Nebinani and his team for organizing this CME on wellness essentials for youth and for giving me the opportunity to speak in this forum. For years, student mental health has been a growing issue. Even before the pandemic, data suggested that there is a high and rising prevalence of depression, anxiety, suicidality, and other concerns in youth populations. It is believed that between 1/5 and 1/3 of students on campuses experience clinically significant emotional distress. However, less than 20% of students in need of services seek them. Mostly they prefer to be self-sufficient, and or are embarrassed about the stigma, so they do not seek help. During the COVID pandemic, closure of educational institutions and emergency distance learning plans turned young people's routines and peer interactions upside down. Students felt stressed due to physical distancing, stay-at-home policies, online classes, postponed practicals, fear of contagion, losses within the family, and uncertainty about the future. In many districts of India, a large number of students were without internet access or reliable devices. Students also had families in which there were new and worsening financial hardships because of the pandemic or its after effects. Family stress, being locked in, and substance use, bread earners who were now without jobs or with part-time jobs. This led to increase in abuse and neglect in families, and vulnerable student communities were disproportionately impacted by this. These stresses have resulted in an increase in clinically significant distress, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress, grief, and loneliness among students during the pandemic. And as educational institutions begin to reopen physically, students are again facing a tough readjustment period because now there is this, the pandemic is not fully gone. They have to maintain physical distancing, as well as once they get used to certain routines, they're finding it difficult to now come back to the old routines. Emphasis on stress management interventions for youth are certainly relevant in these rapidly changing times. There is sufficient evidence to suggest that guided stress management interventions are effective in reduction of stress, anxiety, and depression amongst youth. And in addition, stress management interventions may improve overall emotional well-being and fortify mental health, the topic of today's program. In the pandemic, with most students being off campus, online stress management programs were used by some universities for reaching students and attending to their wellness needs from a distance. Like this particular program is also online. Such interventions have been growing steadily even before the pandemic, and will continue to be needed in coming years. Particularly because a lot of students who feel embarrassed in reaching out to campus clinics, or they worry about their academic careers, or they want to handle problems on their own. Like a big subset of students will continue to need online kind of services. Educational institutions should also experiment with novel ways to attend to mental health needs of students outside of the traditional clinic-based treatment options. For example, stress management in general. Mental well-being programs can be included as a part of the curriculum itself, as well as that college wellness programs could sensitize students on issues like relationships, sex education, coping with stress, respect for self and others, problematic substance and internet use, and balance between mind and body. So many of these wellness kind of issues can be discussed outside of this, and today's program is a good example of what can be done through these methods. Because such modalities have a greater reach than the traditional wellness centers. Campuses should also take precautions to prevent further negative spiral amongst vulnerable student community, because the divide between people who are kind of well resourced and people who are less resourced has become sharper during the pandemic, and they should be the vulnerable student community should be treated with sensitivity. Methods should be used to deal with the digital divide. People should be aware that there is diversity in campus populations, and vulnerable people need to be protected, and they may be needing financial support, at least for some time. A reminder to the youth who are attending that you may feel that COVID has receded and that guidelines related to distancing and personal hygiene are no longer warranted. Evidence suggests that this is not quite the truth, and students should continue to take precautions for themselves as well as for others till the public health crisis is finally. In conclusion, I would like to mention that youth experience high level of stress that may compromise their overall well-being. At best of times, educational institutions' resources are stretched in meeting the mental health needs of the students. This has become tougher in the context of the pandemic. However, stress management intervention programs engender less stigma as compared to pure mental health programs, and these are more acceptable approaches to meeting the students' mental health needs. The pandemic showed that novel modalities of administering these programs are necessary for increasing the reach of these programs. Finally, I would like to remind the students again that they should take care of themselves as well as others. I would like to thank the organizers again for giving us. Thank you. I wish the best.
Thank you, sir. Moving on next, now I would like to invite Dean Academics AIMS Jodhpur, Professor Kuldeep Singh sir. He is a professor and head of Department of Pediatrics and also acting as academic head in the School of Public Health in AIMS Jodhpur. Kuldeep Singh sir.
So good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of AIMS Jodhpur, I welcome all the dignitaries who are attending and speaking on this occasion, especially Professor Pratap Sharan, our director, Professor Sanjeev Mishra, and Professor Naresh Nemanani for using this platform.
Dr. Naresh, you have been muted now.
So, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I welcome all the dignitaries and the speakers who are speaking on this occasion on the CME, which is especially targeted for the well-being for the youth. So, youth is defined as any person who is more than 10 years of age, and this is very timely and apt. On this occasion, I would like to congratulate Professor Pratap Sharan for taking this initiative from the Indian Association of Social Psychiatry, Dr. Naresh Nemanani, Head of Department of Psychiatry, Dr. Mukesh, and all the faculties from the Department of Psychiatry and the Psychologies who are attending this CME, and also the youth who are attending this CME, which is very timely because this is a high time that we need to discuss about the problems which are being faced by the youth. Especially the pandemic has created another set of challenges in which the youths are now being more occupied with the virtual environment. They are more prone to developing the problems related to the virtual security also. So there is they are more exposed to the world, the huge world, where there are many threats to their autonomy as well as for their health also. And I think the well-being of the youth is very important nowadays because because of the technology advances, there are more threats are created for the mental well-being of the people, and this is very important considering that COVID pandemics as such, as Dr. Pratap Sharan has highlighted, that the COVID has already elicited a lot of anxiety among the youth because of the phobia issue with the COVID, as well as the side effects, which we don't know what are the side effects of the COVID infections in a long run. There are many families which have been disrupted, and this disruption has affected the child and the youth well-being also. Their productivities, their learning, other things are compromised during this pandemic. And I think discussing about all these issues is very important. The youths are important because if they can be molded during this period, their brains are developing and their growth is still not completed. So this is the right time. Any person between 10 to 25 years of age, it has been found by the scientific evidences that their brain continue to grow up to 25 years of age. It is not only the teenage years, but up to 25 years of age. Even beyond that, some of the capabilities still continue to develop. And we have to identify what are the areas in which we have to target more for the youth well-being. And also we have to discuss about some of the issues which are now cropping up, which are going to come in the future, like addiction, not only limited to the drugs, but also to the internet and to the gadgets, to the virtual environment also. And also there is a high need for development of the emotional stability, because resilience of the present youth is very low. They are very much disturbed by the existing changing environment. And that's why there is a need for discussing about the resilience among the youth. Because that for the last 1.5 years, we are witnessing many of the episodes which are happening in the society, which are being brought to the limelight with the Bollywood. So again, this is only a tip of the iceberg which we are seeing. There are many things which are happening which we don't see, and that's why it is very important to discuss and to find out the solutions also which are practical, which are useful for the society. So I again, on behalf of AIM Jodhpur, congratulate Indian Association of Social Secretary to take this initiative of having the CME on this issue, and Department of Secretary which has taken this initiative. Again, there are many things which are going to be discussed during this, and we have a question answer session. So it is a carefully designed CME for 3 hours, which will discuss on many different aspects for maintaining the well-being which are essential for the youth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So starting with our today's topic, I would like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Naresh Nebinani. Sir is the additional professor and head of Department of Psychiatry at AIMS Jodhpur. Sir is also working as a sub-dean in student welfare in AIMS Jodhpur. He will be introducing today's topic. I would like to invite him next.
Thank you, Dr. Swati. Sincere thanks to all the delegates who have registered. Today we have 260 delegates who have registered for attending the CME. Few are attending through the Zoom and few are attending through the YouTube link. Special thanks to Indian Association of Social Psychiatry, our guiding force Pratap Sharan sir, Professor in AIMS Delhi, Dr. Varghese Punnu sir, who is the General Secretary in Indian Social Psychiatry, who is also guiding and supporting us, and entire Executive Council, Dr. UC Garg, Dr. R.K. Solanki sir, Dr. Nitin Gupta, Dr. Gauri Shankar, and all the Executive Council members of IASP who are with us for long and forever. Special thanks to our Director sir and Dean sir for guiding us, and this all entities, Dr. Mukesh Swami, Dr. Pratibha, Dr. Navratan, Dr. Anish, Dr. Preeti, Dr. Tanu, Dr. Lakshmi, and Dr. Swati. Here, dear delegates, since the topic is very thrilling to all of us, well-being essential for the youth, India is proud to have a big proportion of individuals who are falling in this range. About half of our population is below 24. And in a way, if we see, this is the most important topic. And I'll be trying to introduce this because the well-being is a state of being comfortable, healthy, and happy. Once we slightly expand this, then the wellness comes, and wellness is the state of well-being with living the life at its subjective fullest. Meaning by we are not ill, we are not diseased in one or other way, we are having an illness, but we are living our life in its fullest dimension. That's why it has been divided into various dimensions. Commonly speaking, there are 8 dimensions we see in wellness, which is physical dimension, intellectual dimension, uh, emotional dimension, environmental, social, spiritual, vocational, and financial. In a way, all of us need to have so many resources with us to stay well, to sustain our well-being. And importantly, this is our dear youth, which is the main person and main theme for the day, and in which we would like to deliver many of the important topics to fulfill the demands of the society, because eventually we all know we need to have good lifestyle, good physical exercise, good relaxation practices, good emotional regulation. So after thorough designing on the theme, we have divided it into 4 areas. My colleague Dr. Anish will be speaking about dealing with uncertainty, because many things do happen. Even if today we say many of our delegates are from Rajasthan, dear students, but in Rajasthan, most of cities, including Jodhpur, the mobile network is down because of the examination going on today. So most of our junior colleagues and delegates will be attending the YouTube link after some time. So this was certainly uncertain, which we have seen just now, but again, we are with you. Thereafter, my colleague Dr. Tanu will be talking about dealing with emotional needs. And before her will be Dr. Preeti, because all of us are connected here because of the internet, but because of internet and gadgets, we are losing our lot of time and again, a lot of social support and skills and connect. So she will teach us how to set the limits. And yes, lastly in this, Dr. Mukesh will be highlighting about the seeking help, because yes, many times as Dr. Pratap Sharan sir said, it is the larger proportion of the people are sustaining health and well-being, but again, the substantial people proportion of the individuals are having emotional problem at some or other point of time, but the seeking help is pretty less. So pretty wide gap is existing, the people who are not seeking help. So he will guide us how to seek help and when to seek help, rather than that problem remains with us. With this, we will try to fulfill again the theme, because if we are able to impart the well-being essentials to our youth, then yes, our nation and the world will be more healthy and happy. And we will definitely achieve all the goals which our parents, our civil society, and our nation has designed for this youth. And they all have a lot of dreams and potential. But if everything is in line with the discussion and the planning and the execution, then they will be more achieving their potential timely. And at the end, as well as along with the topics, we will be discussing the important questions, and whatever questions are remaining, that will be at the end, will be taken up by all the speakers, for which Ms. Lakshmi and Dr. Swati will again help. With this, again, I thank on the behalf of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Jodhpur. And again, a special thanks to all of you, all the dear delegates who are with us on Zoom and YouTube, and all the teachers who are also attending these programs and seniors. And thank you very much. Over to Dr. Swati.
Thank you, sir. So moving on to our next presentation, I would like to invite Dr. Anish Shawn, who will be speaking about how to deal with the uncertainties. Sir is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at AIIMS, Jodhpur.
Good morning to all. I just, first of all, I wanted to ask that whether the screen is totally visible or not. Can someone please reply?
Meeting
Okay, so good afternoon to all. My name is Dr. Anish, and I'm assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at AIMS Jodhpur. And today, before starting the topic, I would like to thank all the stakeholders for giving me this opportunity. And the topic that has been given to me, the topic is dealing with uncertainty. Right. So without further ado, I'll start the topic proper. First of all, what do you mean by uncertainty? Right? Uncertainty or certainty. This is kind of a word that is used, day in and day out. If we see the proper definition per se, uncertainty means that there is a probability of a particular outcome, but we do not know whether that outcome is going to happen or not. So as to put it very simply, at start there is that we did an act or we are about to do an act, but finally the final outcome, whether it is going to happen or not, I do not know. I have no idea. So we are somewhere in the middle ground and we do not know what is going to happen in the due future. So after introducing the topic, first the question arises that how common is it? So if you take a look at your own lives, you would see that across multiple interactions that you are having in your day-to-day life, almost daily you are having uncertainty in some or the other experience, right? And with many individuals across many scenarios. So we can say that this uncertainty or this concept of uncertainty is ubiquitous, right? It is present almost everywhere. So let us take some examples so that we are able to understand the concept in a little bit more depth. Okay, so I'll be presenting 3 scenarios. Not working. Just 1 second. So I'll be presenting 3 scenarios, right, related to daily life issues, and so that we can understand this concept of uncertainty in a better way, right? So before starting, I would say that in Hindi, that all the kahanis that I am about to tell, these does not have any resemblance to anyone, okay, and whatever coincidence is purely coincidental. Whatever resemblance these kahanis may have with some certain someone, right? So the first scenario is that a young boy named Ramesh has passed his NEET exam, right? Many of you would be appearing or may have appeared last year in the NEET exam, and he has got admission into an ABC medical college, right? He's in the first year of his studies, and usually, like all the first years, he would go out with his friends on weekends, to see a movie or etc. etc. And he was introduced to one of his girl batchmates, right? Let us suppose her name is Suman, by one of his friends. Then after that, he liked spending time with her and also would daydream about her, and would also chat with her on a daily basis. In a few months, his friends started to tease him, like you may yourself have experienced it, or some of your friends may have, teasing is a very normal part of graduate life, and the friend started to tease him and would sarcastically encourage him to ask her out, and then he finally decided to ask her out, and then he did. Right, his friends also came to know about it, and then surprise, when he asked her out, then Suman said that let me think about it, with a serious facial expression, and then our boy named Ramesh, he started to think yaar ke kuch gadbad ho gaya, and then after that the girl did not talk to Ramesh for, right? So what happened was, then he started to be this is where the many thoughts came into his mind. That if she said yes, then I'll be very happy and cheerful. If she said no, what would she think? What would my friend think about me, etc., etc. So this scenario is one example of uncertainty. Okay. Then second example is, then our boy named Suresh studied in who studied in 10th standard, is always good in studies since beginning. Mother is very proud of him, and also, as all the mothers do in front of their relatives, she would boast about him that my kid is very good in studies, etc., etc. And he prepared for the pre-board examinations, and due to, as per him, due to unexpected questions, anxiety in the examination, disturbance in the exam hall, and apparent lack of time, he was not able to answer 2 questions in the science exam, due to which he was worried, obviously, and he did not tell this to his mother because he thought that she would be disheartened to hear this. And on the day of announcement of result, he saw that his score in the science exam was 72, which was very less as compared to the usual score that he got, which was more than 90. And teachers then asked him to get, to tell this to their parents, to get the answer sheet signed from their parents. And then a lot of things starts to happen in the, a lot of thoughts start to come in the mind of Suresh. So he thought that, when he would tell this to his mother, the one scenario can be mother would be very understandable. Sometimes, mother may think like that sometimes due to, XYZ reason, there may be undesirable outcome and he will study hard next year. And the mother may be disappointed, thinking that, he may be disappointed that the mother is disappointed. And then all the thoughts starts to rush into his mind that what will my mother think about me? What are my relatives going to think about me? And what are my friends and teachers going to think about me? And then thinking about what my mother's response would be, or Suresh for that matter, there is uncertainty at that time. The third and final example, right? There are 3 friends who are studying in the engineering college. All 3 started their BTech, in mechanical or any branch for that matter. And around 9 months back, they are in 2nd semester. There was a class test. And this may be a little bit of a different scenario for people who are, who are studying below the graduation level. But these kinds of things do happen in graduation. That they made a pact that they are not going to study for this test, and we are going to give this test without studying at all. And but Yogesh, for some reason, because he is a studious student from starting, he starts to think, I do not want to, give this test without preparation. He wants to prepare it, but at the same time, he does not want his friend to think of him as uncool or studious, etc., etc. So then he is in a dilemma that if he prepares for the exam, before giving the exam, his friends may think that he is not trustable. But if he does not prepare for the exam, then there is a risk of getting low grades in the test. He may even fail the exam, and the friends will see him as a as a trustable person because he has complied to whatever he said. So what should he do? This is also an example of uncertainty. Okay, so what are the possible outcomes? One thing is that some people, would deal with it, right? In their daily lives, there would not be any symptoms, but there are certain quantity of people who would have certain anxiety symptoms or mood symptoms at that time. For example, there may be psychological symptoms in the form of excessive worrying, excessive thinking about that particular scenario, excessive rumination, or maybe the chain of thoughts of all the possible outcomes that can happen, and feeling on the edge. Physical symptoms may be, for example, when a person is thinking about these things, he may start to have racing of heart, but the sensation of butterflies in the stomach, sweating, numbness, etc., etc. So these are the possible physiological, psychological symptoms that may arise if you are feeling anxiety in an uncertainty associated situation, right? So, but is uncertainty always bad? So there are the other possibilities also. For example, uncertainty with low stakes and a possible neutral or non-threatening outcome may be exciting also. For example, doing a science experiment. For example, exploring a new territory, right? So when a potentially harmful consequence is involved, then it can be highly exciting, right? So what does it cost? For example, as I already told, that most of the times we are able to deal with these uncertain situations and even bother to think about it. But as I said, some high stakes scenarios, but it differs from person to person. For example, some people may not be bothered at all, even with highest of stakes. For others, it may vary from person to person. For some people, it would be academic. From some people, it would be relationship associated. From some people, it may be, parental issues, etc., etc. So it will depend upon person to person. But if we see that repeated uncertainties over a long period of time may lead to onset of psychiatric illness, over a long term is not good for one's physical health, and overall leads to lower level of general happiness and satisfaction with life. So we can say that it is long-term uncertainty and not able to cope with the uncertainty is important. It is important to recognize this problem because there are a lot of consequences associated with it. And now the question arises, yes, we have already discussed that uncertainty happens occurs with everyone, and we need to deal with it because there are long-term outcomes that we do not desire. So how to deal with it, right? If we talk about dealing with uncertainty, there are certain general measures that we can do. There are certain specific measures that we can. General measures means that it can be done at any time so as to protect a person from landing into anxiety whenever uncertainty arises. And specific measures can be done at the time of anxiety, which helps to deal better with the anxiety associated with uncertainty, right? So if we are talking about general measures, you may have heard about these things in your daily life also, some parental advice, teacher advice, etc., etc. So general measures being good lifestyle. If a person is following good diet pattern, good exercise pattern, and is having a good routine, there are more chances that he'll be able to handle an uncertain situation in a better way. Self-care exercises in the form of, if a person is doing relaxation exercise over a certain interval, doing relaxation exercises, yoga in his daily lifestyle, then he or she is well equipped to deal with an uncertain situation. Having a good social support where you can vent out, for example, having a good social circle, having a good partner, having good, teachers / parents. So having a good social support always comes in handy in handling an uncertain situation. And the fourth thing being challenging yourself and going outside the comfort zone. For example, learning a new skill. Let us suppose you want to, learn playing guitar from a long period of time, but are not able to do so. So learning a new skill, getting yourself out of the comfort zone may help in experiencing the uncertain situation in a controlled manner so as to deal better with an upcoming uncertain situation that may not be in our hand, right? And this, as I talked about in an earlier slide, relaxation exercise, This is a brief, mindfulness breathing exercise. I would like you people to, close your eyes and sit on the, you may be sitting on the chair or on the floor. That is okay. It is okay both ways. Just listen to what am I saying. It will just take 1 minute of your time, right? I'll start speaking. Sit in a comfortable position. Keep your hands in the resting position. Just become aware of you sitting and feeling the pressure of the chair or floor wherever you are sitting, and try to observe the sensations that you are experiencing, right? Try to observe the flow of your breath, observe the continuous cycle in and out. You do not need to focus on the long breath, or you do not need to increase the duration of your breath or modify it in any manner. Just observe the continuous cycle in and out. Start observing how the breath is entering your nostrils, passing through the lungs and reaching the abdomen, right? And try to relax with each passing breath, right? And at the same time, you need to remember that while you are doing so, it is natural that your mind will start wandering, right? You may get lost in the thoughts, but at that time, what you need to do is that realize that your mind is wandering and gently redirect your attention to your breath, right? If this mindful breathing exercise you are able to do maybe 15 to 20 minutes twice or thrice a day, then it will come in handy whenever you are having a uncertain situation associated anxiety, right? Now coming on to specific measures. We talked about general measures, now specific measures. These can be rational or non-rational, right? The rational specific measures are those which are based on logic, non-rational which are based on faith. Minded, I am saying non-rational on the basis of the word that is used in the scientific literature. I'm not meaning that these are not useful. Non-rational specific measures are quite useful, right? So do not take non-rational in a literal. So specific measures I'll cover one by one. First is be kind to yourself, right? It means that you may have certain friends whose ability to deal with an uncertain situation is better as compared to you, right? And it can also go the other way. So it will depend upon, it will depend upon your personality. It will depend upon a lot of other factors, right? So, but you need to be kind on yourself for getting anxiety in an uncertain situation, right? And second is reflecting on the past successes. You may have underwent a lot of uncertain situations in your past, right? And you may have gotten out of it unharmed, right? So you may have, this is the time to, pat yourself on the back a little bit, so as to celebrate the fact that in the past you have come out of a lot of non-specific uncertain situations successfully, right? Taking your own entries. The third point is that it depends upon this particular principle is used in psychotherapy, right? For example, in cognitive behavior therapy, where you are able to take a look at a particular scenario from a third person point of view, right? You have to imagine that let us suppose that some of your friend has come to you with a similar problem, right? With a similar uncertain situation. What is the advice that you are supposed to give, that you are about to give your best friend? So that is the advice that you are supposed to give yourself, right? And then fourth is enhancing your decision making, right? This is the decision balance matrix, right? As you can see, there are, it is a 2x2 table. On the x-axis, right, you can see staying the same and changing. I'll remind you the example that was there that I quoted in the starting. Let us take the example of the pact that you made with your friends, that whether you want to prepare for the examination or not, staying the same. Let us suppose it is that you want to prepare for examination, then take a piece of paper, write the benefits of preparing for the exam, all the benefits that you can come up with. It may be a very simple very simple benefit, and all the costs or all the drawbacks of preparing for the exam. And at the same time, you need to do the similar thing for not preparing for the exam, right? So when all the facts are in front of your eyes, then you are in a better position to take a proper rational decision, right? And other specific measures being, seek support from those you trust. Those can be your family members, those can be your friends, that can be a partner, etc., etc. So a particular social support at the time of anxiety due to uncertainty can go a long way in helping, right? Then sixth point being, thinking about what you can control and what you cannot control. I'll talk about it in next slide. The seventh point being religious coping, right? A prayer, if you are a religious person, if you consider yourself to be a religious person, a prayer or going to a religious place, maybe a temple, gurudwara, mosque, etc., would help, can help, a great deal to a person suffering from distress due to uncertainty. Then at the end, there is a concept of acceptance. The concept of acceptance being, let us take this scenario. For example, getting low marks in the exam, as was there in the second scenario. An act is done, there is anxiety or distress related to that. And from a rational thinking point of view, we can think that anxiety or distress is not going to change the final outcome, right? And we need to accept the final outcome that is there. And if we say, if we take a look at it from a religious point of view, a person may think that it is a deed of God, right? It is a will of God, and whatever God does is for the best. Paramatma jo karega, acha hi karega, right? This is the angle that is taken by the people who have high religiosity, right? So both these point of views may lead to decrease in the level of final anxiety that you may be suffering from uncertainty, right? But if still, after doing all these things, if still you are not able to handle the anxiety or distress due to uncertainty and you start to feel overwhelmed, then there is no shame in asking for psychological help. So if we go back to those three scenarios, Ramesh having problem with girlfriend related issues, Suresh having problem with marks related issues, and Yogesh having problem with friends related issues. So if these people may be following the general measures, as I told in the prior slide, having good diet, having good exercise regime, relaxation exercise, having good social support, etc., etc., they may be having lesser chances of being overwhelmed with the uncertainty, right? If they are following specific measures at the time of anxiety associated with uncertainty, they may, if they are following a religious approach or a rational approach or all the other measures that I told in the prior 2-3 slides, they may be able to deal better with the anxiety that is associated with uncertainty, right? So with this, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the dynamic presentation. It's definitely fortified our abilities to deal with uncertainties. So next in order, I would like to invite Dr. P, who will be speaking about internet and gadget use, how to set the limits for the same. Madam is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry in H2. She has won this much awards as mentioned, and her interest areas are addiction psychiatry.
So good afternoon, one and all. So I'll be talking about internet and gadget use, setting the limit. So this is the outline of the presentation. I'll be briefly introducing the topic, then what are the potential benefits of using the internet or gadget, what are the potential harms, and where to draw the line and how. And then we'll be concluding. So coming to the introduction part. So gadget is actually any small electronic device that has some use or purpose. Even a watch can be considered as a gadget. However, in this presentation, I'm going to focus only on those gadgets. For example, video game console, mobile phone, laptop, TV, etc., which has kind of a screen. So mainly related to screen time. And internet is actually the full form of internet is an interconnected network of all the. So it is actually basically it helps in connecting online. So we'll be seeing what is the scenario currently. So why is it important to know about the internet and gadget use now? So why are we targeting the youth population and why youth people? So as we can see, this is a recent study from India around 2019 to 2020. So as we can see, the most of the prevalence of internet and the gadget use is in the 20 to 29 years age group. 34% of the internet users are in this age group, followed by actually 30 to 39 years, as well as the 16 to 19 years. So it is very common in this age group. So is the usage pattern? It is, we know that it is higher, but is this usage the pattern in which they are using, is it safe or appropriate? And also, if you look at the psychosocial development over the lifespan, if you see the adolescent, it is a time when they're developing a sense of identity, the self-identity as well as the social identity, as well as in the young adulthood. That is a time when they're exploring the relationship and they are developing relationship with others. Thus, the internet or the social media is going to affect all these things. So, can internet influence the normal psychosocial development and impact our behavior throughout the life? And what is the current usage pattern among youth in India? Again, as we can see, if we see in the 18 to 25 age group, we can see that most of the people are using more than 6 hours or at least more than 5 hours. And if we look into the less than 18 group, again it is more than 5 hours. And if you see for what purpose they are using, so most of the youth are using it for social media platforms, followed by school or college assignments and for teaching, and for learning new skills or courses apart from the school or the college work, connecting to friends, as well as for watching cinema shows, etc. And most of the people are using internet through the smartphone rather than through computer nowadays, in all the age groups together. So coming to, we have seen that this is the usage pattern currently. So what are the potential benefits of internet and gadget use? So one, as we also see that the second most common was for educational academic purposes. Yes, internet has led to easy accessibility to educational information. There are a lot of information which we can access with just a click of a mouse. And multimedia can help explain complex concepts more clearly. For example, if we go to the YouTube, when we go for a 3D-based models, we are able to understand very complex problems, very complex biological things very easily. There is also ease of sharing of information among the friends and the teachers. And there's some terminology called micro-learning. This micro-learning approach is also very useful with the software or through the apps, where we make it a small focused learning units. It is kind of a learner-centric approach. So if you look at the forgetting curve, so if you study only once, for example, we have a lecture that is occurring only once. After that, if we don't repeat it, if you don't start reading about it, we are going to forget it. However, with the help of the internet, if we are having micro learning, which we can see repeatedly, for example, it is on some YouTube or through some apps, there are small videos on some topics, then what can happen is, so what can happen is there can be a repetition of those topics, so it can help in better retention. So apart from that, internet, it has also been found that those who are using internet predominantly for studies have higher academic performance than those who are using it for other general purposes. And it has also been found that if people are given internet, and compared to those people who are not using internet at all, people who are using internet are having higher academic performance than those who are not using internet at all. Coming to the other aspects, it also helps in ease of communication. For example, during the COVID pandemic, there had been the internet had been a major panacea through which we can communicate with our friends and family who we have been separated by distance. It also fosters a sense of connection and belonging, especially for people who are shy, who have fear of face-to-face communication. It also helps in fostering a sense of connection and belonging. It also helps in making new friends and maintaining friends. If parent and the child co-view some educational materials, they co-play some games together, it also helps to improve the parent-child bonding. And social support platform for people with similar kind of problems. For example, cancer survivors, there are some social support platforms in which they are able to support each other. And there are some blogs for students studying for competitive exam in which they get some tips. So these are the various benefits of internet and the gadget use. Apart from that, we also know that it is used as an entertainment. For example, TV or watching movie together, it helps to improve the family or the social bonds. It also helps in relaxation, and it also encourages creativity. For example, you would have seen that there are a lot of kids who are having YouTube channels. There are a lot of blogging platforms. It gives opportunities to display their talents. So this internet has become a medium through which many youth have used it as an advocacy tool to bring about healthy changes in the society. For example, climate change. There are some youth who are talking about climate change through the internet medium. And it also helps to learn new skills or information apart from the academics. For example, coding, dance, music, etc. can also be learned. And also there are health apps. For example, yoga apps to guide meditation or relaxation therapies, etc. And for job opportunities, apart from the newspaper, we can also search for job they can also use an online job as a part-time. And there are also safety benefits. For example, we have GPS on the mobile, so it can be used for tracking purposes. So females can go out without any safety concerns. And it is also useful for sharing information in case of emergency. There is ease of money transfers, reminders or alarms can be set in it, and also for health monitoring, and also for identity exploration. So as we was discussing that in the case of adolescence, it is a time when there is an identity formation. So internet gives an opportunity where a person can experiment with different identities and different roles in the virtual world through online forums where they can create different types of identities and they can explore how is it going. So what are the potential harms of this internet and gadget use? So in the education, so even though it has been found that it has been helpful, as we can see in India during the COVID pandemic, it had led to a very increased digital divide. For example, people who are from the lower socioeconomic status who do not have a mobile in the home, or even if they have a mobile, there is only one smartphone or one mobile through which they can access the internet. There are other kids in the home who are not able to access. So it has actually increased the digital divide for those who are not able to afford. Also, there has been risk during the online classes. We had heard news that during the class time there has been some spammers and there was some inappropriate content that was actually being displayed. So there are these kind of risks when it comes to the internet and gadget use. These are all not available in the case of offline mode of learning. And also the excessive screen time can lead to decreased sleep or eye strain. I'll be talking about the internet addiction part later. So the excessive screen time, even if it is not addictive, it can lead to eye strain, it can lead to decreased sleep, which can in turn affect the cognition, that is the intelligence, and affect the academic performance. And excessive use can lead to not only the mental effects, it can also lead to physical health effects. For example, it can lead to sleep deprivation, day-night reversal, and people reduce the food intake and water intake, which can lead to dehydration or malnutrition. Sitting at the same place without getting up to go to even to washroom, it can lead to pressure sores, that is ulcers at the place where you are sitting. It can lead to musculoskeletal problems like neck pain, sprains, etc. Again, safety issue, even though some part of it that it has led to some safety, but there are a lot of safety hazard that comes when it comes to internet and gadget use. For example, exposure to inappropriate content at inappropriate age. As I mentioned, while children are watching the content displayed by the teachers, there can be some inappropriate content that is getting displayed. If a parent is not there, then there can be the child may click on some other links that is appearing which is inappropriately. There have been incidents that have been an increase in the cyberbullying where people are bullied through the internet. There can be stealing of personal information or money, and there have been events where adolescents have been lured by kidnappers. They just make friends with them through the online and they ask to meet and they have been kidnapped for money or for other reasons. So there has also been accidents when a person is using the mobile or the tablet while driving. and there has been increased risk of falls or bumping into nearby objects when a person just keeps on watching the mobile and just walks without seeing the outside world. And there has also been certain social media challenges like ice bucket challenge or tripod challenge, which has led to accidental deaths. So these are the various safety hazards that can occur with excessive internet and gadget use. And it has also been found that it can lead to various mental health effects like depression, anxiety, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or it has been associated with conduct disorder. And some people use it as use only the internet or gadgets alone to manage the distress or the negative emotions. It leads to reduction in the self-regulation capacity. They are not able to learn how to self-regulate when there is absence of internet or the gadget. They feel bored when there is no internet or gadget. So there is also feeling of loneliness or boredom when they're using this excessively. So if they're using it excessively, that's also poor work-life balance. They are having less amount of time that they spend with their family. There is poor interpersonal relationship and exposure to aggressive contents like violence can also lead to violence. It has been found it can lead to increase in the violence among the viewers. So coming to the major challenge that is occurring these days with the excessive internet and the gadget use, it is the addiction. So in the addiction part, when it comes to the technology addiction or the internet addiction, the primary thing is the loss of control. When a child is not, or the child or the youngster is not able to control the amount of use, he knows that it is leading to some negative consequences in his life. For example, he is going away from his, he wanted to achieve something in his academics, he's not able to get it. He's getting lower marks. He's not able to spend time with his family or spend time with his friends. But despite that, he is doing it. He starts neglecting his needs and responsibilities. And when he's not able to open it, when he's not able to check the mail every once and then, when he's not able to check the Facebook every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, he feels irritable. He feels he's missing out something. He feels stressed out and anger, and progressively keeping on increasing the duration. Or he's just preoccupied with it. And he starts lying about the amount of use and what he is using to his family or friends. So these are all some of the symptoms that shows that this person might that we are addicted to the technology. So we have seen what are the potential benefits and what are the potential harms that can occur with internet and the gadgets. So where to draw the line and how? So as we see that internet and the gadget use has both its benefits as well as risks. So just like the food that we eat, what we see in internet or gadget need to be properly chosen and consumed in right quantity at right time. For example, if we eat in the balanced food, we know that if we eat only carbohydrates, we are not going to get the proteins or the fats, and we need all the components, that is the proteins, carbohydrates, and fats in the right quantity and at the right time. Similarly, in the case of internet, it is not that it should be used only for academic purpose or only for entertainment. We should have everything in the right quantity, and it has to be done at the right time for limited period. So the way we use actually determines whether the use is healthy or unhealthy. So balance in the case of adolescents and in the case of youth, we have to balance the screen time with other activities required for the overall development. For example, there should always be 1 hour of physical activity that should be built in our activity scheduling. There should be an adequate duration of sleep at night without any interruption. So the screen time should not interfere with this duration of sleep or the duration of physical activity or the time for college, school or work or the time for meals, hobbies and family time. So if any of these activities is being displayed due to the screen use, then we can consider that like this excessive screen time and it should be reduced. And in order to reduce the physical strain, if you have to watch the screen continuously for a longer duration of time because of online classes or due to some other reason, do not watch the screen continuously. So this is called as the 20-20-20 rule, in which after every 20 minutes, you are supposed to take a 20 seconds break and look at an object that is 20 feet away. So you have to look at the object 20 feet away for 20 seconds every 20 minutes in order to reduce the eye strain. Apart from that, drink a lot of water, sit with a normal posture, with erect posture, with the back straight, and the device which is being operated should be at eye level in order to reduce the neck strain. And do not use mobile while engaged in activities that can increase risk of physical harm. For example, while walking, you're not supposed to keep on watching a mobile and walk. You can easily bump into things. While driving or while you are on the terrace, you're not supposed to keep on using the mobile. It can lead to some accidents. And always have a fixed time for using a mobile phone for work or academic purpose. And during the work or the academic purpose, keep notifications from the other social networking sites, for example, Facebook or Twitter. During your work or academic purpose, keep notifications from those sites off, and also non-essential apps in the off mode. This will prevent you from getting distracted from using the internet or the gadget for the work or academic purpose, and it will lead to benefit in using those internet and the gadget. And in case if you're feeling uncomfortable due to some reason, that when you're interacting with a person in the social media, you feel that you something feel uncomfortable, inform the significant others or the responsible person. In the case of adolescents, please do inform your parents in case you're having any cyberbullying or safety problems. Also set some rules for the gadget use. Set screen or mobile free rooms. For example, the bedroom or the kitchen, please do not use screen or mobile, and that because the bedroom should be used only for the sleeping, and restrict mobile use during particular time. For example, during the family time, during the meals. So have a set rule for the gadget use which is personalized to you, and avoid exposure to the devices for at least 1 hour before bedtime, because it can interfere with your sleep. And never cyber safety rules should always be there with you when you are using internet or the gadget. Never share your personal details with any unknown strangers on the net. If someone makes you feel uncomfortable, block that person or avoid any request by that person, and always use respectful words or language the way you will talk to other people face to face. Some people think that since internet is anonymous, if I use any words which is disrespectful, no one is going to know about it. So that is not the case. It can be easily traced by other people, and so always use respectful words. And whenever you're posting something, let it be a photo. Think twice before posting anything on the website, because it can be accessed by a larger population than intended, which can be used by people with malintentions who can use that photo to do something. So always think twice before posting anything on website, and respect privacy of other users or individuals also, similar to how you would want others to respect yourself. And seek advice or help from the parents or friends when you need, and seek professional help when there is difficulty in controlling the internet or gadget use. So concluding, so internet and gadget use, as we saw that it is very common among the adolescents and youth in India. Use has many benefits like easy access to information for education, improved social connections, improving creativity, etc. However, if we use it excessively or inappropriately without following the cyber safety rules, it can lead to various harms like internet addiction, technology addiction, physical harms also, cyberbullying, depression, anxiety, etc. So we have to use internet or gadgets in appropriate ways, and that is the need of the hour. And use gadgets in a balanced way for the right amount for the right time. And do not hesitate to seek professional help when needed. With this, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that enlightening presentation. So moving on to next presentation, emotional well-being as a domain of the well-being concept. Next on the line, Dr. Tanukta will be discussing about how to manage your emotional needs. Madam is working as a clinical psychologist in the Department of Psychiatry at Institute.
Good afternoon, everyone. The topic that I have been assigned is about managing emotional needs. So I would say that most of you would relate to the issues that we are going to discuss because we are human beings. Emotions are essential part of our life. So how to manage those emotions, that's the agenda of my presentation. So when you talk about emotional needs are the core of our existence that we all need to fulfill to remain happy and at peace. That is the only requirement everyone wants, that I want to be happy and at peace. And also it helps in maintaining the balance. So what happens when these emotional needs are not met? You feel frustrated, you feel hurt, and you feel dissatisfied. So that's why it's important to know that how to fulfill those needs and how important are they. So understanding emotional needs can help you feel empowered to deal with various problems in life. It also gives you an opportunity to look at the imbalances in your work, relationship, and environment from a unique perspective. For example, whenever we have a problem, we start doing self blame. there is something wrong with me, मेरे साथ ही कुछ problem है, हम हमेशा मेरे साथ ही बुरा होता है. Instead of asking yourself, or instead of engaging into self criticism, you can ask yourself what emotional needs are not being met, or what action I can take to meet those needs. So if we talk about the basic emotional needs, we all have 9 emotional needs. That is need for security, attention, control, meaning and purpose in life, need for privacy, need for community connection, need for achievement, need for status, and need for intimacy. When I talk about adolescent and youth, all these needs are important and more connected to the peer group or to the friends and relationship they are in. They try to find meaning in their relationship. Their academic achievements are really important for them. They want to fulfill their need for intimacy. They want attention and security in their relationship, in their peer group. They want a status in their peer group. So what I'm trying to make a point here, that adolescent is a time when you're more dependent on your peer group, and most of these needs are being met by your peer group. So how can you relate to the emotions? What happens in adolescent? Before adolescent, you are dependent on your parents, but as the time comes, a stage of adolescent or young adults, they are more dependent on their parents. They are more emotionally dependent on their peer group. They prefer to spend more time with their peers, and peer interactions are increasingly unsupervised by adults. What happens that adolescents usually experience emotional distress in response to ambiguous and imagined romantic relationships. If you compare the notion of friendship while you are a child or when you are adolescent, so for children, notion of friendship focus on shared activities that we want to play with our friends. Friends are for playing, but for adolescent and young adults, the notion of friendship increasingly focuses on intimate exchange of thoughts and feelings. कि हमारे secrets हम share कर सकते हैं. I can share my feelings. So the whole idea of friendship and the whole expectations of friendship changes by the age of adolescent. And there are so many questions that adolescent ask, like what connects two people together in a love relationship? What enables every single human being to make decisions that are authentic to themselves? What makes life meaningful, or what motivates a person to move ahead? And what makes you feel happy? And answer to this question is single, that is emotions. How we handle our emotions and what emotions are associated with these questions. So as I already mentioned that most of the emotional needs are being dependent on the relationship, that too more on the romantic relationship, because adolescence is the first time when these romantic relationships typically emerge. Though romantic relationships during adolescence are short-lived that we all experience, however, their importance should not be minimized, because the positive and negative emotions are more tied to romantic relationships or lack thereof than to friendship, family relationship or school. Like this has become a social status कि मेरा गर्लफ्रेंड है या मेरा बॉयफ्रेंड है या नहीं है. So होना भी एक जरूरी है और नहीं होना भी एक cause of distress हो सकता है. Romantic relationships contribute to adolescent identity formation, peer relationship, emerging sexuality, adolescents' emotional and behavioral literacy. So you can see what is the significance of these relationships. They can shape overall your personality in your peer group, in your class, in your college, and overall in your life. So if we talk about relationship, there are two types of relationship: healthy versus unhealthy relationship. How will you identify that am I in a healthy relationship? Healthy relationship makes you feel happy, safe, secure, accepted, and respectful. Whereas unhealthy relationships instill feelings of insecurity, discomfort, a sense of uncertainty, and unhappiness in the company of another person. So along with that, healthy relationships are mutually supportive, encouraging, and beneficial for both the people involved in such relationship. So here we focus more on how to establish the healthy relationship. Before that, I would like to highlight what are the common reasons of emotional distress, specifically in relationships. Number one is poor adjustment skills. So when you enter to the high school or to college, how you adapt to those situations, those changes, that will determine your effectiveness in interpersonal situation. Unrealistic expectations. Sometimes our expectations are not really realistic, that we expect people should understand our feeling without saying it. तो किसी के पास जादू नहीं है that people can know whatever you are thinking. Then trust issues. There are issues that you find it difficult to trust other people. कि कैसे विश्वास करेंगे, धोखा तो नहीं देगा कुछ गड़बड़. And then high sensitivity to criticism or rejection. That has become a real issue nowadays for you. People are really afraid of getting rejected, and a small amount of criticism can increase the emotional distress. Next in the line is insecure attachment. You find it difficult to establish a secure relationship, and finally sometimes the relationship end up in breakup. So that cause emotional distress in young adults. So what are the skills that we need to learn and practice to establish healthy relationship? The first in the line is communication skill, then listening skill, conflict resolution skill, assertiveness skills, emotional regulation skills, and self-management skill. I'll be speaking about them in detail. So relationship skills are the skills that students use in their day-to-day communication and interaction with other people, both individually or in groups. It's not only required in a romantic relationship, it is required in all the areas of your life, being a part of college fest, sports activities, interacting with other students, applying for a job, or establishing an intimate relationship. So having good people skill, having good relationship skills can help you in all domains of your life. So the first foremost important skill of relationship building is communication skill. Why it is important? Because we have seen the main cause of emotional distress in relationship is lack of communication or miscommunication. And miscommunication is the basic interpersonal skill that every human being is required to master. And college time is the best time that can be utilized to polish these skills. And these are the general tips how you can improve or improvise your communication skill. Whenever you are trying to communicate with someone, try to create a safe environment so that other person are more willing to share whatever he or she wants to say. Keep healthy boundaries. Don't be too intrusive. Have realistic expectation and stop focusing on being right. We cannot be right all the time, so we need to take other person's perspective. Listen to understand, not counter. So that has become a real important thing. If we listen, we try to listen to give the answer. If we listen just to understand and do not give any answer, sometimes people do not require answer, they just want a listening ears. Express empathy and respect. Importantly, that you understand what other person is going through. Use warm non-verbal communication. Whenever you are communicating with someone, it is important not only your verbal gesture, your non-verbal gesture should also get aligned with whatever you are saying. Identifying underlying issues. Importantly, someone may not come up with their underlying issues. They may go up haywire, but you need to focus what this person is going through. Be clear and to the point, and remember you are a team. So whenever you are in a relationship, whenever there is a conflict, we try to be on a different side. If you are in a relationship or if you are with someone, with friend, you are a team. Both of you are on the same side. If we take side or if we discourage the other person, the communication would not happen. Active listening is another skill that is required to establish healthy relationship. Though it seems as a passive activity because it involves silence. However, I would say which is not true. The active listening can be reflected through different gestures like maintaining eye contact, appropriate nodding of the head, verbal affirmation like yes, There are 6 key listening skills. The number 1 is paying attention, whatever other person is saying. Then withholding judgment. You are not supposed to judge whatever the other person is saying. You are supposed to listen and then reflect in your mind what this person is saying. If you are confused or if you are not clear with whatever has been said, you can clarify with that person. Then in your own word, you can summarize that, am I understanding it right? And finally share whatever you want to say or whatever you have understood. So importantly, not only listening, the verbal communication, it is important to listen beyond words. Why? As we are talking about emotions, emotions are difficult to verbalize. Sometimes utilizing body language, facial expression, body gestures can help us to maintain the closeness of relationship. Non-verbal communication is has a big role in connecting people, relating people with each other, expressing their feeling and establishing a meaningful relationship in life. It can be improved by mastering our awareness about expression and interpretation of non-verbal gestures and physical space. Some of the examples are that communicate, body gestures that communicate disinterest and body gestures that communicate interest. Like if you are talking to someone and you are not making eye contact, so that person would say that you are not listening to him or you are not interested in that person. If you have folded your arms, or if you are yawning, or if you are fidgeting, or you are you are glancing at the clock. Whereas if whenever you are sitting with someone, try to be in a relaxed and open posture. Try to have an engaged eye contact, nodding of the head appropriately and appropriate smiling. Open body language and appropriate use of non-verbal communication encourage others to feel comfortable, safe, and establish a deep connection with you. The next come in the line is emotional regulation skill. The most important skills that we are going to learn today, that whenever we are in an emotionally provoking situation, maintaining calm and awareness about our own emotions and other emotion is a key to develop healthy relationship. So what happens in emotionally overwhelming situation, we tend to misread other people's emotion. हमें समझ में नहीं आता कि दूसरा इंसान क्या सोच रहा है या क्या दिखा रहा है, और इसी वजह से we send confusing signals to others that aggravate the chances of conflict and misunderstanding. So it is important that you learn to stay relaxed in an emotionally heating situation and try to communicate effectively. These are the 6 steps to handle the difficult emotion. Number 1, that you turn towards your emotion with acceptance. Yes, I'm feeling something, whatever it is. Then identify and label that emotion. Maybe I feel anxious, maybe I'm feeling sad. Then accept your emotion. Yes, I'm feeling anxious. Realize the impermanence of your emotion. This will pass. This too shall pass. Then inquire and investigate what are the triggers of that emotion. किस चीज से आप परेशान हो या किस चीज से आप anxiety feel कर रहे हो, and then let go of the need to control your emotions. What happens from the very beginning? We are told that the negative emotions you should not experience, but what we have experienced, that we need to experience and accept all the negative as well as positive emotions. That's why there is a need to let go the need to control of your emotions. So it should go as they are. Other skills are self-management skills, like whenever you are in a stressful situation, try to identify the signs of stress, as already mentioned in the first presentation: shallow breathing, muscle tightening, anxiety, raising heartbeat, etc. So once you know that, yes, I am feeling stressful, take a pause. Pause could be anything, that you take deep breath, you go to washroom, you want to wash your face, you want to recollect your thoughts. That could be anything during that moment, so that you can recollect yourself. Then be specific about the issue and stay focused on one issue. What happens in relationship or whenever we are fighting with someone, कि आज की जो बात है वो तो है ही, but जितनी पुरानी लड़ाइयाँ हैं सब एक साथ वापस आ जाएंगी. That further worsen the situation. So try to focus on the single issue so that you can resolve that issue. And appropriate use of humor can help people lighten their mood and distract for some time. But importantly to understand, it is a good skill that you are able to use humor. But There are times when you are not supposed to use humor. Suppose a person is sharing very emotionally provoking, emotionally hitting situations with you, and you are trying to put up humor. So that becomes inappropriate. It is important to recognize other person's distress in an emotionally provoking situation. Then assertiveness skills are really important to establish healthy relationship, which is the ability to express positive and negative feeling in an open, honest, and direct way. It recognizes our right while still respecting the right of others. That we are aware कि दूसरे की भी कोई expectations हैं, and it allows us to take the responsibility for ourselves and our action without judging and blaming other people. So what is the benefit of assertiveness skills? To encourage effective communication as they incorporate both the sender and receiver's perspective during communication. So what happens in our day-to-day life? People get confused with aggressive versus assertive communication. जो जितना ऊंचा बोला जाएगा और जितना strongly बोला जाएगा, उतना जल्दी उसका effect आएगा. So that is not assertive communication. Assertive communication involves a clear and respectful expression of opinions and feelings without violating the rights of others. So what assertive communicators value themselves as well as others' needs and point of view, whereas aggressive communicators try to dominate, criticize, humiliate, and control others. So learn to differentiate whether you are choosing assertive communication or aggressive communication. Try to be more assertive rather than be more aggressive in your relationships. So how to improve assertiveness? Express negative thoughts in a way that encourages respectful expression of your feelings and emotions. जब भी हम बात करते हैं, try to take other person's state into the consideration. कि उसके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है. Suppose you have a friend, you want to spend more time with that person, but that person is not giving you much time. So you can say, I know you have been very busy with your studies, but I want you to make some time for us as well. And importantly, you need to learn to say no for things that do not align with your plans. Do not take everything on your head if you are not able to do it. So rather than taking it, try to avoid it or try to say no for the things that you cannot manage. Be open to feedback as we like appreciation by others. If somebody is criticizing you, be open to those feedbacks as well so that you can improvise yourself in your relationships. Then coming to the conflicts in relationships. Conflicts would happen wherever there are people. Conflicts are inevitable part of our life because we are individual and we are different in one or the other way. Students find it difficult to respond and resolve the conflict, so they try to evade themselves from the situation or blame the other person. They don't want to resolve their conflict, they just want to avoid the conflict. So what happens when it has been seen, जब लड़ाइयाँ या जो भी conflicts होते हैं उनको respectfully handle किया जाए, so the bond between two person get really strengthened and they grow in their relationship. So what are the common reasons of conflicts in relationship? One is dependency. You have only one friend and you want to get everything, get all the activities, class में जाना, अपनी dinner करना, lunch करना, बाहर घूमने जाना. You're more dependent on that single person. That a person find it difficult to accommodate all the dependency. Then over possessiveness. This person is my friend. She should not speak to anyone else, or he should not speak to anyone else. Then jealousy is quite common. Insecurity, that you don't feel secure. This person might cheat me, this person may betray me, and unrealistic expectation wherein generally students say, मैंने तो बोला नहीं है, but हम लोग दोस्त हैं, समझना चाहिए. Without saying, she should understand. But there is no way the person can understand without you being said whatever you want. So try to clearly say whatever your expectations or whatever your demands or needs are. And also poor accommodation with change, when people find it difficult to accommodate with ongoing changes in life. So how to resolve those conflicts? As I already mentioned, try to remain calm. Whenever there is a crisis situation or emotionally eating situation, learn not to react immediately or take a time out as you go away for 1 minute or 2 minutes from that situation, so that you do not react or do not give any emotionally that can further worsen the situation. Negotiation is another skill in which you try to find out a solution which is acceptable and convenient for both the parties. कि मेरी भी रह जाए और तुम्हारी भी रह जाए, so let's just find out a middle way answer. Avoid giving ultimatums. That is quite common. That अगर आप तुम ये नहीं करोगे, so I will do this. So kind of blackmailing. So it avoid saying these kind of ultimatums to the other person, as this does not encourage resolution of conflict. Rather, it leads to worsening of the situation. That person would be more distant from you rather than resolving the conflict. Be willing to compromise. These are the fair fighting rules. We all fight with each other. We all have fights in the family with our friends. During fights, everyone wants to be right and win the arguments. But here, the importance is your relationship. Whether your argument or your winning is more important or your relationship is more important, that you need to prioritize. When there is an overpowering need to win the argument, then we don't understand, listen the other person. So relationships are more amenable when we prefer to find a middle ground or willing to make compromises. So always be willing to make compromises and avoid blaming. So it's not possible that every time we are right and the other person is wrong. And whenever there is accusations or blames, the other person would go into the defending mode. So don't try to do this or play this blame game that usually happens whenever we are in a conflicting situation. Try to use more of I statements. Whatever you feel, try to put the facts. I liked it when you said it, or I don't like it when you said it, or I would prefer to, so that other person would say that you are saying it from your perspective. Here we use you did this, you do that, you always say like this. So try not to use this you kind of statements. This is very common for adolescent and young. Everyone has experienced this rejection, which is a horrible feeling. Nobody wants to have a rejection from anywhere. So being rejected by someone you love or want to be in a relationship is extremely helpful. Often fear of rejection can hold people back from truly being happy with someone. Because once you are rejected, you generalize that experience to other situations as well whenever you are going to establish a meaningful relationship. So how to handle this rejection experience? We cannot have a life without any rejections. Some or the other time we need to face this situation. Try to talk to someone rather than bottling up your emotions. Try to share your emotions and your feelings to someone. Give yourself time to grieve that this is a loss or this is the thing that I cannot achieve. So I need some time to overcome that. Understand the other person's reason why this rejection has happened. There might be some reasons. And what happens, the adolescent or young youth, they try to wait for that person. मुझे पता है वो वापस आएगी, उसको अपनी गलती पे पछतावा होगा या whatever their reason, they wait around. So it's better that you don't wait around, because once you are waiting for someone, you are having expectation from that person. If those expectations are not fulfilled, you are going to have more emotional distress. So try to understand that I am just trying to process this experience rather than waiting for that person. Avoid talking to that person for a while. That can also help. Focus on your studies. There are times when we are more focused on one particular aspect of life, and we just ignore the other important aspects of life. So we can have focus on those things, focus on other relationships of our life, so that would help us in dealing with these negative experiences. Breakups, as I already mentioned, is quite common, which is further again handled with ventilation, where you share your feeling, you express your emotions to the one to whom you can trust, the one to whom you can feel that this person would understand what I am going through. What happens in students, they generally whenever there is a breakups, they went into drugs and other maladaptive coping strategies. So rather than going into these maladaptive ways, you can find out some adaptive ways to handle these difficult situations. And always remind yourself why the relationship was not right for you, because breakup would not happen when one person wants. It's just mutual decision that we don't want to continue with this relationship. So somewhere you have thought of those points why you want to do it. So try to remind yourself with those things. So whenever we are in a difficult situation, if we try to channelize our aggression or anger, then you can go for a physical activity or a sport that you like. That is a very adaptive way of dealing with the pent up frustration and anger. And also take appropriate time to heal. People wants to get away or get out from this situation very quickly, and they wants to start the new relationship so that they can overcome this feeling of negative as the relationship. But that has found to be really counterproductive. So be careful when you want to rebound. Don't be in a hurry to fill the void, whatever has happened. It takes time to process that situation. Starting a new relationship early will affect the complete processing of your experience. Sometimes people try to change the aura of their lifestyle by updating their wardrobe or just distracting themselves with some hobby or redecorating their room. Or if you find that you are not able to manage this with general strategies, you can consider therapy from a mental health professional. So far we have talked about what are the situation when that arises emotional distress, how to handle that emotional distress, and how to establish meaningful relationship, healthy relationship. But there are things that you can do that you do not experience this emotional distress. That is prevention. So one concept that we say is connectedness. Connectedness is basically a sense of belonging, being cared by your family, your friends, and the people around. People who are connected, they are less likely to experience negative emotions, and it has been found to be as a protective factor against high risk behavior for youth. And also it has been seen to have positive effects on their academic achievement, regularity, and overall development. So how to promote connectedness? First and foremost important thing is be empathetic. Try to understand another person's situation, acknowledge others. What happens whenever we are in a relationship? We want मेरी बात सुन ली जाए without considering the state of mind of the other person. Instead of bombarding the other person with your issues, you may initiate conversation by asking them how they are doing, how they are feeling, what are their hobbies, so that that person get a sense that you are interested in that person. Then they will try to connect with you in a better way. They will try to understand your issues as well. And also practicing compassion, that can be done by incorporating small acts of kindness such as smiling, greeting others, give compliments, appreciating others, be grateful, and practicing forgiveness. Be non-judgmental. Non-judgmental is a state of mind where you adopt an attitude of observer of life that accept the people, their behavior, situation as they are without any judgment. I am accepting you without any conditions. So with this, I conclude, as we all discussed so far, that emotions are important. Why? Because emotions, our feeling influence our thought. It affects our behavior. That further leads to our overall experience. Whatever we do, that is driven or originated from the emotions that we are having. So importantly, to understand, acknowledging your emotional needs, expressing them in an appropriate way, and take responsibility of your action and emotional needs would help you lead a healthy life and having a healthy relationship.
Thank you for highlighting the importance of emotional domain, which is an important domain under an individual's well-being. So moving on to our next and last presentation, which is about seeking help. So seeking help from a mental health professional is associated with a lot of stigma in current times, but at the same time, it is an essential part of it. So the first step of seeking help is to identify when and how to seek help. So our next speaker, Dr. Mukesh Swami sir, who is an associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry at AIMS Jodhpur, will be discussing about this topic. Over to you, sir.
So, good afternoon all. Till now, you have understood the ways to prevent emotional distress or dealing with different life situations, maybe uncertainty related situation or internet use related difficulties and relationship related difficulties. So, if you are able to use all those skills, you are less likely to experience the emotional distress. But there will be life situation where you are not able to cope with the situation or situation is overwhelming, or you are still working to develop your own skills. So at that time, all of you are likely to experience some or other kind of emotional distress. So in such scenario, taking help from your near and dear ones or professional help is very important. So I am going to talk about that scenario only, that when in a situation when you are experiencing significant emotional distress, how you can go through that particular situation so that you can overcome it by taking help of others. And simultaneously at the end, I will also talk about briefly that how you can help others in certain situation when they are experiencing emotional distress, because that skill also empower you to seek help for yourself also. So it will be kind of bi-directional. So when we talk about emotional distress, first you should be able to define whether you are in a state of well-being or not. So if you say you are in a state of well-being, these four criteria, or I would say four aspects, you should be able to meet. One is that you should be able to realize your own capabilities or your own potential. You should understand your strengths as well as limitations. Then you should be able to cope with the normal stresses of life. So whatever difficulties or whatever ups and downs you are experiencing in your life, you should be able to deal with it, and you should be able to navigate through it and move forward in your life. And if you are able to identify your abilities and you are coping well with your normal stresses, you will definitely work productively and also contribute to your community. So if you are doing all these things, probably you are in a state of well-being. Opposite of this well-being is emotional distress. Emotional distress is that when you are experiencing suffering at emotional level because of whatever stressors or whatever the usual demands of your life are there, and you are the situation is very difficult that you are not able to cope with those situations in daily life. So basically, when there is imbalance between your perception of stressors or demands, that whatever situation is there, how you are perceiving that situation, and your own coping abilities. So when perception is more demanding or more severe, then you may experience emotional distress in such scenarios. So distress is nothing to worry about. Distress is actually a tool, especially at a younger age. It is inevitable and it is also useful for your evolution, your growth as a person. So if you are experiencing distress, you should be thankful to Almighty that you are actually experiencing distress, so that you can evolve, you can invent yourself by going through that emotional distress. So emotional distress basically helps you to prepare and identify and polish your own strengths and techniques, how you can deal with that particular situation or that emotional distress. And at that time, it is very common, and I would say everybody of you might have experienced such kind of emotional situation when you are experiencing anxiety, sadness, irritability. Even sometimes you might have got some sleep disturbance also. But that doesn't necessarily indicate that it is a kind of diagnostic of some psychiatric illness. So experiencing emotional distress is not equal to psychiatric illness, but still emotional distress, if not handled properly, can subsequently lead to some or other kind of psychological disorder. So most important thing that I want to emphasize here is self-awareness. You should reflect daily on your experiences so that you can recognize what kind of emotion you are experiencing in what situation, so that you can identify, okay, I need to evolve certain techniques or develop my own methods to deal with particular situation, so that my experience of this distressing emotion reduces. So self awareness is one of the most important component by which You can try to minimize your emotional distress, or you can develop your own skills to deal with that emotional distress. Now, in situation of emotional distress, it is possible that you are trying to deal with those situations with your own methods, but in certain situations, those methods stop working. So it is important that you seek help from others. So it is important because it will provide you a different kind of perspective. Sometimes you are looking at a particular situation from one angle, and if you discuss with the same situation with your friends, colleagues, or some family members, they may be able to give you some other perspective of the same situation. So that also ease out to a certain extent the amount of distress you are experiencing. So seeking help or talking about your distress is likely to provide you a different perspective. Second important reason why you should try to seek help for your emotional distress is that you may learn from the experience of the others. So if you're discussing whatever issue you are experiencing with some person, and that person already have experienced certain situation and successfully navigated through that situation, they can suggest you their own methods. So you can learn from their experience also. It's not that you learn by your own trial and error methods. So discussing again is important from this perspective. Third, and one of the more important reason why you should discuss, even if someone is not able to help you in certain situation, while you are narrating your problem, it can lead you to a potential solution. So when you talk about your problem, you yourself may develop some idea. Okay, I haven't think about this particular solution earlier, but now while I am discussing, I am getting that solution. So even if the person to whom you are talking is not able to give you some solution, maybe by narrating your problem, you will be able to get a solution at some point of time. So that's why you should always try to seek some kind of help. Now, even if you have identified that you are experiencing emotional distress and you know that you should seek help, there are certain factors or certain barriers, I would say, for seeking help. Why you decide not to seek help, and you should be aware of these barriers so that you can overcome these barriers and seek help for your emotional distress. One important barrier is poor understanding of the problem. Sometimes we all go through certain situations that we are experiencing emotional distress, but we are not able to label it. We are not able to give word to that problem. So we are not actually defining the problem or understanding the whole issue. Second possibility is that we try to avoid the distressing topic. Whatever situation give us some kind of pain or some kind of distress, we don't want to talk about it. So both this situation lead to poor understanding of the problem because actually you are not engaging in that problem. So you may avoid seeking help because you are actually avoiding the problem itself. Second issue or second barrier that is very common among youth is prejudice of not being understood. This is a common statement given by the youth that my parents will not understand me, my friends will not understand me, or whatever, to whomsoever I am going to talk about this problem, they will not understand. Again, this is a kind of prejudice, and you should break that barrier and try to talk to that person. Anyone who is a well-wisher for you is going to understand you. Only thing is that you need to be very clear in your communication. Third and more prevalent social reason for not seeking help for any emotional issue and more so for some kind of psychiatric disorder or mental illness is the assumption or stigma associated with emotional issues. So if someone is experiencing some emotional distress or having some emotional problem, they can presume that if I am weak, that's why I am experiencing emotional problem. So emotional problem or emotional distress is commonly associated with weakness in the society. So again, you need to understand that this perception may not be there in your close ones, and even if that perception is there among your close ones, you need to talk about it. That's the way you can overcome the stigma or the barriers. So to overcome these barriers, you need to talk openly about your difficulties, and very clear communication should be there. Then to overcome stigma, you should understand that seeking help actually reflect your clarity, not the weakness, and your will to move forward. So it is actually, if you are seeking help for your emotional issue, probably you are stronger than others because you are able to accept your emotional distress, accept your limitation or weakness, and you are trying to improve over those limitations. So it is actually a strength, not the weakness. Second thing, you should focus more on the facts rather than the public perception. So if this is a public perception that having some kind of emotional distress is weakness or some negative attributes are given to that particular situation, you should focus more on the facts, whether it actually is. Then final thing is that you should think about yourself. So prioritize your own needs over the expectations of the others. Sometimes your peers or even the family members may think that you should behave like a brave person or you should behave in a particular manner. You should not fall prey to certain kind of expectation. Rather, you should prioritize your own needs over expectation of other people. So, identifying your need when there is a need to seek help. So, in most of the situation of emotional distress, what you will do, you will try to handle it by your own ways, by your own methods. But when you have tried these, but your methods are not working, and when it starts affecting your routine and the rational approach cannot be applied at that particular time, then you may think that probably I should seek help from someone. That is the situation. So broad indicator is that there is a consistent change in pattern and that is leading to distress. By consistent, I mean that if distress is persisting over days, maybe weeks, then definitely you should try to seek help, because it is possible that you are experiencing distress for a day or 2 days, and you use your own methods and you are able to cope with the situation and navigate through that difficult situation. But if that emotional distress is persistent and your pattern or routine has changed and it is causing distress throughout the day, then definitely it's a broad indicator that probably you need some kind of help to deal with that particular situation. These are some of the, again, broad pointers when you can think about seeking help. One is that while you are experiencing difficulty in interpersonal relations, you are unable to comply with required assignment, or your performance is declining and you are not able to maintain your routine, your sleep patterns, your eating patterns have changed, and sometimes physical symptoms are there that are not explained, like you are experiencing persistent headache for long, you are experiencing body aches or some other kind of physical symptoms for which there is no diagnosis by a doctor or they are not explained by any kind of illness. So such kind of unspecified symptoms indicate that there is some significant emotional distress is present. So if these changes are present consistently, you should think about seeking help. So you can ask broad question to yourself, like, are your thoughts, emotions, or behaviors out of control and affecting your relationship? Are you engaging excessively in some kind of distraction, like you are excessively engaging in some gaming or engaging in some kind of addictive substance like smoking, alcohol use, that kind of thing you have started doing excessively watching TV, any kind of distraction that is disrupting your routine, and you are using that to get away from that emotionally disturbing situation. If engagement is excessive, then again you should think about it. Then if you are feeling confused for longer, are you feeling overwhelmed by your problems or stressful situation and events in your life? And finally, are you persistently feeling unhappy or dissatisfied? So if any of these questions you ask to yourself and the answer is yes, then you should think about it, that you need to seek help from someone to deal with the situation and to change answer to these questions. So once you have identified that, okay, I am experiencing some kind of emotional distress and I need to seek help, and you have decided to seek help, how you should go about it? First is that you should connect with people around you. There are people around you who are your well-wishers, and even if they don't understand your situation, it is possible that they don't have your background knowledge, that what you are experiencing, and they are not able to pick the non-verbal cues as well. Sometimes we think that people around us should understand that I'm experiencing certain kind of difficulty, I am experiencing certain kind of distress or pain. But until unless you clearly communicate with them, it is possible that they are not able to make it out. So connect with people around you, and it should be clear and direct communication. Even if they are not able to understand by your behavior, you should clearly communicate with them that I am experiencing distress because of this particular situation. So don't rely only on the non-verbal communication or your expectation that they should understand. Clear communication is very important with such situation, and without that, you cannot expect that someone is going to help you in many situations. Third, and an important aspect for seeking help is being non-judgmental to yourself, and you should not refrain from asking about the doubt or concern. So don't judge yourself for any of the limitation or asking anything that I don't know certain things, so I am weak or I have this limitation. If you judge yourself negatively, then you are not going to reveal all the things or all the difficulties. So don't refrain from asking your doubt and concern, and don't judge yourself. So these are the basic tenets on which your behavior on which you should seek your to approach. Again, first step is the family and friends. You should approach your family members or your friends or colleagues. If there is a situation which you can't share with them, you can connect with your teachers or mentors whom you regularly meet. Even if that is not working or situation is more difficult, requires some kind of expertise, you can connect with your student counselor. Most of the schools and colleges has provision of student counselor. So they are a very important resource in dealing with such situation. It is not that when you are experiencing some kind of psychiatric illness or psychological disorder, then only you go to the counselor. Even if you are in a difficult situation when you cannot connect with the you cannot deal with that situation, you can take help of the student counselor. And finally, you can go to a mental health professional, clinical psychologist or psychiatrist. This particular group has certain benefits that they have expertise in dealing with the psychological situation. They provide a non-judgmental environment where you can talk about your difficulties or your situations. And finally, you have a privacy that you can discuss the discrete issues also, because there are certain issues you do not want to discuss with your family, friends, even teachers and mentors. You can talk about those issues with the mental health professionals. So try to take this step ladder approach, going upwards from family, friends up to the mental health professional, depending on the situation, depending on the issue, as well as depending on the severity. Because in certain situation, maybe you require a lot of professional help. So in such situation, you can directly go to the mental health professional, or you can talk to your teachers, mentors, whether in particular situation you require some kind of professional help or not. Because if you are not able to decide that, you can talk first to your family and then move on to mental health professionals. Now, these were the things how you can seek help, when to seek help, and to whom you can contact to seek help. Now, I'm going to talk about an important concept of psychological first aid. That is a technique, or I would say it is a layman's method to help others in a situation of emotional distress. So it is a kind of situation like you might have heard about the first aid, in which whenever there is a trauma, we give certain maybe antiseptic, apply, wash the wound, certain kind of things that by which the risk of subsequent infection is reduced. So psychological first aid is on the similar line. So whenever someone is in emotional difficult situation, he or she cannot go directly to seek professional help. So you just bridge that gap and provide some psychological support so that the situation doesn't worsen. So if you learn about psychological first aid, there are a lot of benefits that it helps in overcoming the barriers like stigma for seeking professional help. It will also enhance your own understanding of stress and how to deal with stress, because if you are helping someone else, you learn how to seek help also and how to deal with particular situation. So it will evolve your own skills as well. Third is it will also create an environment of trust and support in your working areas, in your educational institute also. When you are practicing this psychological first aid, there will be an environment of trust and support. So we should always try to provide psychological support to other people who are in psychological distress. And it requires only connecting with the people with compassion and being non-judgmental. If you have these two attributes, then you can any way help any person. So in psychological first aid, first thing you should understand or first thing you should do is to look around you, look for the common signs that reflect the emotional distress. Like I told you, that common signs like experiencing some kind of sleep disturbance, change in routine, change in behavior, or unexplained physical symptoms. It is suffering from some kind of emotional distress. So you should be able to identify the emotional distress. And if you try to identify emotional distress in others, you are able to recognize your own emotional distress also. So it is important or beneficial in both ways. Second thing we should do is to connect with that particular person. That is the listening. Listen to the concern and experience of that person. Listen what one is feeling and why the person is feeling that particular way. And while listening, you should not intrude. Just you should be present there. Maintain a calm presence that is sufficient. You need not to intrude or you need not to advise that person. Even if you are silent, you are helping that person by listening non-judgmentally. So you should not give advice, you should not judge. Acknowledge the distress and empathize with that person. The only thing you can do is to reassure that person that okay, things will be fine. I am trying to understand your issue. Once you have listened to the person, try to link the person with the resources. Means you can provide resources in form of your own experience that you can deal with this situation with this particular situation, particular techniques or particular methods, or you can connect with particular maybe counselor or some administrative link. Whatever problem is there, you can link that person with the resources and how they can deal with that situation. And final link can be the maybe the mental health professional. So these are the basic concept of psychological first aid. You need to look for the emotional distress. You should connect with that person and listen to that person, and finally link that person with the resources. So take home message from my side is just that you should be able to identify that you are experiencing some kind of emotional distress, and for that most important thing is reflection, the self-awareness. If you are aware about your experiences, you will be able to make out that in what situation you should seek help. And when you have identified, try to overcome the barriers that you are experiencing to seek help. And finally, try to identify people from whom you can seek help, like your family members, friends, maybe counselors, and even if you require more help, you can connect with the mental health professionals. And always try to provide emotional support or psychological first aid to your peers as well as persons around you, your family members, anybody you can help with the emotional support as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So with this, we are done with our presentations here and moving on to the next segment, which is question and answer session. So I request all the participants to raise their hand if they have any kind of doubt or queries. Starting with the first question, which is received in the chat box, asked by Aman. He asked, where can we learn about psychological first aid?
Psychological first aid basically doesn't require any specific kind of training, but still if you look for resources of psychological first aid, you can get those resources on internet. You just need to type about psychological first aid. There is a good resource from WHO as well. Otherwise, psychological first aid just includes
Just had a technical glitch, sorry for the interruption. So as we were discussing about the question asked by Aman about the psychological first aid.
So there are a lot of resources available online on psychological first aid, and we will also share resource on psychological first aid to all the participants. We will mail the resource. Next.
Another question asked by Somang, he's from IIT Jodhpur. He has asked, while handling students psychologically, we sometimes lose our own mind how to manage these situations. He's a part of student well-being committee at IIT Jodhpur.
Would you like to repeat the question? And also show the chat box, please.
Mr. Somang from Students Wellbeing Committee at IIT Jodhpur. He has asked, I have a query that while handling students psychologically, we sometimes lose our own mind how to manage these situations.
Yeah. Thank you for the observation, because it's a common thing. Many people who are helpers at one another and they feel like this. So that's why we ourselves need to follow many principles and lifestyle measures. And again, whatever we have discussed here, it also applies on all of us sitting this side. Because if we follow some other practices, and then definitely we are going to be more resourceful. Two, whenever particular situation arises, have some tool, discuss with someone, because at one or other end, we all who are providing counseling, they need to discuss those issues with some other peer or supervisor. And the third, again, the discussion on one or other line will give us more approach, better approach per se, because the other side, mental health professionals are also sitting. Since you are providing support, you might not be directly from psychology and psychiatry background, so the other side, these experts are sitting, so they can help you for the particular situation as well as to the individual who is seeking help.
Thank you, sir. There is another question in the chat box. Ranjana Mishra asks, how can I avoid overthinking? May I ask Dr. Kanu to answer the question?
Overthinking comes only when we are indulging on the thoughts repetitively. So if you try to get rid of this overthinking. You need to keep your mind relaxed by doing regular relaxation exercise, or you can do journaling, whatever your thoughts are. You can write down those thoughts in your in a notebook, and you can reflect back on those thoughts. What is really troubling you? So that's how these are the two easy strategies that you can choose to manage the overthinking.
Other way to look, since some of the thoughts are coming frequently in the mind, which you are labeling or we are labeling as overthinking. So we need to address those issues as discussed in different sessions here. Because if we are addressing the basic problems, then many thoughts won't come again and again and again, and again, along with those strategies as Madam has mentioned.
And along with that, there are certain, if we see from the pathological point of view, there are certain disorders also which may have this overthinking, so-called overthinking as a symptom, right? So if this overthinking is clearly, giving you a lot of problem and hindering in your daily activities, it might as well be worthwhile to get a consultation from a mental health professional if the distress associated with that is very difficult to handle.
So there is another question by Shifa. I wanted to ask about how do we deal with the friend who you have helped coping when he or she was in distress. However, now you feel they are over dependent on you. This requires giving them a lot of time. How to deal with such a situation?
Can you tell the name to whom this question is addressed?
May I ask Dr. Anish?
When we are trying to help a certain individual, let us suppose we are trying to help our friend. So it is a possibility that over a long period of time, this tendency of dependency can occur, right? So whenever there would be a crisis, because you have helped them prior, so this behavior may repeat and keep on repeating. So the first thing that you need to do is limit setting, right? For example, if we have some obligations in friendship, right? So we as a friend, we are supposed to help our friend, but when it kind of hinders on to our daily activities, then firmly, but at the same time keeping into consideration the feelings of the other person, you have to set a limit and set a boundary. And with this, I think this activity or this dependency over a period of time would reduce.
Another way also take help from the professional counselor, student counselor. Why? Because whatever we have seen as a distress to that individual might be still persisting. Or sometimes some or other concerns, personality issues, or ongoing adjustment issues. So health seeking may continue in different ways. So the other person will look into the broader perspective and again advise accordingly. Saying you can also discuss about this issue to your mentor or student counselor. So they can help further better. Other side, definitely mental health professionals are set.
So as there are no fresh questions in the chat box, we can take up the questions which participants had asked while registering for this CME.
There's some question email. Tanu ma'am.
This question is from Suma. Tanu ma'am has talked about assertive and aggressive communication. My query is how to deal with a person who is an aggressive communicator.
Basically, if you have identified that person as an aggressive communicator, you may share your observation with that person, so that that person may get an insight that there is the observation, the perception that you are having for that person is kind of aggressive communicator. And if that person wants to change, then there are ways in which the person can handle their aggressive tendencies, and their management skills can be taught to that person, and more effective ways of communication can be taught to that person. even if you see that that person is not willing to engage into any of these strategies or any of the help, then you need to have your own stance in those situations, how you're going to handle those situations. So I would say that you need to maintain your calm and you need to focus on your mental health, that rather than responding to, rather than reacting to that situation, I will learn how to respond to that situation. And without any judgments, I can go through with that experience.
Just to add, as she said, not to be passive or anxious, but be more mindful and assertive. In a way, it will reduce the aggression of that person and may provide more opportunities to work upon that relation and that communication.
Next one, we take few questions which participants had asked during registration. So first question is for Dr. Anish. So one of the participants had asked, why do we feel uncertain and depressed at times despite trying various ways to engage the mind? It's like for a while you are happy, but again the same depression comes.
So first of all, let us clarify that we are not talking about a depressive episode per se. As a scientific term, depressive episode. We are talking about. I assume that you are talking about daily hassles and the feeling of sadness associated with it, right? Let us suppose a person encounters a stressor, is having a difficulty in coping, leading on to these feelings of sadness and depression, right? So if I understood your question properly, that sometimes you are feeling low and depressed due to the stressor that you are having, and sometimes you just come out of it and you are totally fine, right? If that is the question, the reason for that is this is how the usual response of the the brain response or the mind response to any stressor is. If whenever you are reminded of that stressor, or you are in a specific situation that that emulates that stressor, or when you are reminded of that stressor, then those feelings associated at that time, be it sadness, be it worry, etc., those feelings kind of come at the forefront and leads you to feel all the feelings that you told. But when you are when you are diverted from that, then at that time all these symptoms would go away. This is the difference between normal day-to-day sadness and the sadness of a proper depression as a mental illness. I hope I've answered your question.
Next question is for Dr. Preeti. Someone has asked about the time management in present digital world.
Thank you, Swati. So as discussed during the presentation, in the case of time management, so actually there is no consensus on how much time limit should be there when it comes to adolescents or the young adults. So as I discussed, the time management should be such that it doesn't interfere with other normal routine activities which are necessary for our development. So there should be 1 hour of, you have to make an activity scheduling, and for each activity you have to allot specific time. And in those activity scheduling, there should be 1 hour of physical activity. That should be an adequate time. For example, there should be 6 to 8 hours for our work or for our academic activities like school, etc. And there should be an adequate time for sleep, which is around 7 to 8 hours for 7 to 8 hours in the case of adults, and 7 to 9 hours in the case 8 to 10 9 hours in the case of adolescents. So, and apart from that, there should be time for meals, time for family, time for friendship. So after this, you can allot the time for the digital work also. In case you are using your digital world or the internet for work or the academic purpose, in that case, try to avoid other social media or the notifications from other social media during that time, so that you don't get distracted from the actual work or the academic performance. I hope that answers your questions. Thank you.
Question is for Tanu ma'am. If someone has asked about the coping mechanisms for stress and anxiety, which I've already discussed, maybe you can highlight main.
I have discussed that in my presentation. So the general stress management strategies that we can apply whenever we are in a stressful situation, not only then, but in a general routine, our lifestyle, we can adopt some of the stress management strategies like regular physical activity, regular timing of sleep, adequate sleep, and then getting yourself relaxed by doing some relaxation exercise, getting into yoga and pranayam. These are the general stress management strategies. Sometimes when you feel overwhelmed, you can also find out what are the triggers why you are feeling overwhelmed, or what are the contributor of stress. You can work on those contributor by using the problem solving approach, that what would be the possible solution to these issues.
Next question is for Mukesh sir. Someone has asked how to cope with public anxiety.
Again, for public society, most important thing you can do is to engage with the situation in which there are people, because again, it is a skill that you need to build. So more you practice in a certain situation, more you will develop that skill. Before going to a public situation, again, you can try to practice at your own also, that okay, I'm engaging in this particular situation, these kind of things I can experience. So practicing in front of mirror is one way before going to the situation. Then regularly exposing yourself to that situation is the most important thing, because if you keep on avoiding that public situation, that anxiety is more likely to build more. So practicing and engaging with the situation, these two things are very important.
Next question is for Dr. Anish, where someone has asked, why do we always see change in the way we are?
So, it depends upon two points. First is the personality, right? The personality of a person. Second is the environmental factor, the environment where you are. I'll explain it one by one. The different persons have different personalities, right? There are some person who I'll try to put it as simply as possible, who are who want to achieve more, right? And so as to achieve a particular task, they see a certain set of skills that they require, and if they find that these set of skills are lacking in them, they will want to improve as far as those skills are concerned. And here I'm still just talking about personality. The second is in relation to that is the environment where you are. For example, if you talk from your family point of view, or from the job, or from the institute where you are reading, from that point of view, there are certain requirements that are certain needs that are, or skills that are required for you to excel, right? So if you are in that particular environment, and then you maybe not have a complete set of skills that are required to excel, and you are reminded again and again of the skills that are required, which may ultimately, the combination of these two things, the personality factors as well as the environmental factors, may lead you to think in such a manner that you want to improve more and more till that particular point.
Next question is for Mukesh sir. How to uplift spirit of a person suffering from mental disorders like depression or anxiety?
I think that is beyond the domain of today's discussion, because that requires certain kind of therapeutic techniques or psychotherapeutic methods, and depends on the patients as well. There is no universal formula of uplifting the spirit of any person. So it depends on the situation of the person, and it's best to connect with some mental health professional in such situation, and they will be in better position by individualizing the methods for that particular person. So if someone is experiencing clinical depression, they should definitely connect with the mental health professional rather than going with these self-help kind of techniques. They may not work in certain situations.
So next in line, we have few questions for Naresh sir, for which I would like to request Lakshmi ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Someone asked question from Dr. Mumbai. Due to reopen of school after a long time, many adolescents face problem increased workload. So how can manage the increased workload and regarding stress?
Thank you. It's important observation for all of us. But if we are saying the workload has increased, dear delegate and students, that possibly the workload has increased for many people, be it teachers, be it school administrators, be it parents, and yes, be you as a student. So if we see, then again, has the time management planning per se as described in different ways earlier. But importantly, see the work, whatever is the work, and to see the timeline, whatever you have the timeline. Other way, yes, students are also facing, the parents are also saying the students have become more sedentary in terms of the lifestyle because for long schools were closed. So the schedule was not there. In a way, most of people have also stopped exercise, outdoor games, and exercising things. So in a way, if we try to improvise our efficiency, that is one. Two, whatever task has been assigned, then see the whatever time we have for that. Divide that task into the appropriate portions and then try to do accordingly. And yes, wherever we feel difficulty, again, please communicate to the teachers because they are also observant to these things that these are the problems genuinely people are facing. So in a way, the middle path may come. And yes, simultaneously try to learn better time management as well as efficiency because in college life, again, the time is less, workload is too much, which everyone feels, especially in professional educations. So in a way, we are stepping in the next level to see us better. And jointly, it will work better, you, parents, as well as teachers. And again, prioritize in that work, whatever is more important, do it, and whatever is less important, if we have more time, we can do it later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Someone asked Dr. Naresh how to deal with faulty parenting and teenagers.
Sure. In the start, I would say most of people who have written even the various books on parenting, they have acknowledged that they were also not as a good parent because initially people take time to learn. So that's why nothing is called faulty parenting per se. This is the experience. Again, I was also reading a couple of books in a way they mentioned that during their first child, they were not knowing many principles, but in the second child, they started knowing it better. So in a way, yes, it should be a collaborative approach because if in the parenting it is too permissive, too uninvolved, or too casual or too harsh, then things don't work. So more it should be authoritative. In a way, parent is also understanding the child, discussing, and then child is also following what parents are trying to impart. In a way, there were a couple of good things in the interaction. There are a couple of not so much good things in the interaction. So please don't label the experience for your parents or anyone as well as you yourself as a parent. But it is a journey to improvise further. But yes, once we know, we should work out on those factors better to address these things, even while interacting with our child who knows those facts, as well as while we are dealing with the child right now with the different settings because it comes with a practice, it comes with a discussion. But yes, the particular labeling should be avoided because on the other side, parents as well as children, no one likes this term much. We as a professional sometimes use further for discussion, but not the terms, but the ways how to improvise interaction. So please focus on the positive part and work out wherever things didn't go well. After all, every child is going to be a parent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, question for you. How to prevent suicidal attempt in youth?
Thank you. In anyone, if you want to prevent the suicidal behavior or suicidal attempt, we should work on both the parts. One, yes, the environment, it should be more supportive, conducive, helpful, be it friends, be it family, be it society. There should be a better support system per se, and yes, lesser options to harm in one or other sense. But the second part of all these things is the individual himself or herself who is suffering from some or other stress. If we have better skills, better approach, better ways to deal with the things in any given situation, be it stress management, be it problem solving, be it communication, and also appropriate liaison with the teachers, student counselor, peers, family, as well as mental health professionals. So In that way, we can prevent larger part. Again, if you want to talk about the societal level, then yes, there should be more information and work on the life skills at the school level, children, and as well as growing youth. Because if you are more adaptable to the situation, better in alternate seeking, not much stuck in one or other way, having some or other spiritual practices, regular relaxation, and more so stoical, meaning we are not affected with much or other things, and with proper frame we are trying to address the problem, then we won't be affected with whatever comes. And if it is in both the way, the environment is also more conducive, and we are also working to improvise our skills and timely liaison with mental health professionals, then yes, we can prevent almost all these suicides and the risk factors as well. So we should work also on protective factors. This is again the positive personality attributes, positive family bonds, positive connects with the friends, family, some or other lifestyle things, relaxation approach, as well as the thing what you like, because there's a purpose in everyone's life, then it's called spiritual practices. Thank you. And it's the most preventable cause of death. All of us acknowledge this. And good to see this question here, because all of us are stakeholders, all of us are gatekeepers. We all need to support, because sometimes anyone may need help, and if we are providing support, then yes, the life is totally changed for that individual, and we also feel happy.
This brings us towards the end of the session. So may I invite Dr. Navatan Suthar, Associate Professor, Department of Psychiatry, AIMS, for a vote of thanks.
Thank you. So, first and foremost, I would like to thank our director, sir, Professor Sanjeev Misra, and Dean Academics, Professor Kuldeep Singh, sir, for their constant guidance and support to organize such an enlightening program for the youth. Department of Psychiatry in Jodhpur has conducted this CME that is titled as Wellbeing Essential for Youth under the aegis of Indian Association for Social Psychiatry. Therefore, I would like to thank all the office bearer of ISP for giving us this opportunity and helping us to conduct this CME. And special thanks to Dr. Pratap Saran sir, who is the president of ISP. I would also like to thank other office bearer like Dr. UC Garg sir, Dr. R.K. Solanki sir, Dr. Varghese sir, Dr. Gauri Shankar, and Dr. Nitin Gupta. I would like to thank our HOD, Dr. Naresh Navinani, who coordinated this with the ISP team, led the team, and guided us at each and every step. I would like to thank all the resource faculties for delivering such an interacting and wonderful talks. Dr. Anish, who has talked about how one can deal with the uncertainty. Dr. Preeti K talked about setting the limit on internet and gadgets use. Dr. Tanu Gupta, who talked about and taught us about the management of emotional needs. And Dr. Mukesh Swami explained that how and when one can seek help. I would like to thank and congratulate each and every person of organizing team and staff for successfully conducting this CME. At the end, I would like to thank the heart of this CME, the participants who have given their precious time and participated in this CME. I hope that such kind of program will be continued in future also. Thank you all. Now I want to request Dr. Pratap Sen sir to conclude today's CME.
Thank you. Professor Naresh Navinani and his team, I think I would like to thank you for holding this CME, which is a community awareness program for us. And I have gone through all the talks and they were uniformly of a very high standard. The questions were answered very well. And I think it generated a lot of interest. So I would like to thank you for conducting the CME. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, dear delegates. And since because of the internet issue today in Rajasthan, many of our students could not attend because of this issue. So we would be providing YouTube links soon. And again, as we mentioned, we will also be mailing you the digital copy of this manual. We are still evolving and again finalizing this manual. Mr. Yogesh, Dr. Swati, Ms. Lakshmi, Dr. Tanu, Dr. Mukesh, Dr. Preeti, Dr. Anish, Dr. Navratan. And with that, we would definitely would like to see you all well, happy, chirpy with different principles imparted, and you yourself are also knowing many things. But again, it's important to practice those things. And again, whenever we please visit to the student counselor, mentor, teacher, and also the mental health professionals. But more importantly, stay connected with friends, colleagues, peers, family. If we are more connected, we are happy. And if we are happy, then we are well. If we are well, then we'll be more productive in entire ways, dreams, and again the life. To seek permission from you all, and thank you very much. We'll meet sometime in a different format with different topics. Again, thanks to Indian Association for Social Psychiatry for providing us the platform and constant guidance. With that, we would like to conclude the session. And thank you again, dear delegates and ISP office bearers and entire team. Thank you very much.